All right, that's enough of that. And I got to address, I'm going to start because there's at least one person watching, or maybe not. So, what's going on with my channel? Why do I have Skeptical Hippo back up? And why is every single one of my videos privated? Well, we had a little bit of a, what's going on, Alan? We had a little bit of an incident at work that I made me a little bit nervous. Number one, we got the whole Doge thing going on, and I like to be able to talk as freely as possible. So if that is criticizing a certain person in charge of Doge, I want to be able to do it. Two, there were a couple of people that found out I like to do a live stream whenever I can, and they were trying to find it at work. So this is probably temporary. I don't know how long it's going to last. I understand people like to look at things. You know, they don't want to look at a blank screen, basically, with a hippo in it. But the thing is I'm going to have to do it this way for now. I don't know when I'll change it back, but that's the reason why I had to kind of change things up, take down those other videos, because, like I said, I like to be able to criticize politicians or say whatever about anything that's going on in the news. And, you know, right now, it is what it is. I don't feel like getting into a massive argument at work about whether I'm allowed to do this in my spare time or not. There are rules that you're not allowed to be a public figure, not that the 1,000 subs and the approximately 8 or so people that watch my live streams really constitutes being a public face of things, but it is what it is. We'll see how long it lasts. We'll see how long the whole Doge thing goes on. Maybe I'll get fired. In that case, then I can come on the internet anyways, do my live stream and say whatever the fuck I want at that point. But it is what it is. So, what's going on in the news? I want to hit the strategic crypto reserve, strategic Bitcoin reserve, whatever it is you want to call it. Like, I personally think this is the dumbest possible thing that anybody can do. You guys, you know my philosophy on crypto, okay? You know, I don't really think it is anything. People insist that it has value. And then when I ask them to describe how they would come to whatever valuation they believe it's worth, they can't give me an answer. But one of the things I wanted to talk, and I'll get to the Oscars and how it's stupid, but one of the things I wanted to talk about was Elon Musk was recently on Rogan's podcast. And look, as with most things, I'll tell you how I really feel about Musk. You know, I've laid it out several times. Tesla's massively overvalued. Elon knows that. He trots out whatever latest gimmick is going to keep the hype with Tesla. He's trying to keep the share price up artificially. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the things that he says are just pure grift. But that doesn't necessarily mean in a vacuum. Everything is bad about an individual. And even though I would have to say, I agree with Elon Musk's sentiment about the government. I don't agree with the execution. And we can get into the fact that Musk works for the government, basically in and of the fact that he has contracts with the government, he's taken loans, whatever it is. But I just thought this latest episode of the Joe Rogan podcast where Musk was on was one of the most bizarre things. I never thought I would see something like this. And it's not like a bad thing. I'm not crapping on Rogan or Musk. It's just bizarre. Did you ever think you would literally see a billionaire businessman? All right, again, Elon's fortune, wow, he's got the billions from the shares that he sold, but Elon Musk is on Rogan breaking down how the fraud in the federal government works. And I don't know what the rules are exactly with Rogan's podcast because I get copyright. Errol. Yeah, I just want Tesla to fall back to an appropriate valuation so the cultist Elon Musk fanboys would just shut the fuck up about how Tesla is going to be worth $20,000 a share in, 2035. And we're all just going to be driving around in our Teslas, using them as robo-taxis, and apparently nobody's going to have to work. Even the people that work at Tesla repairing your Tesla aren't going to have to work because they'll just send their Teslas out as robo-taxis and we'll all make, X amount of money. But I just thought this was the most bizarre thing I've seen.
The Joe Rogan experience.
And that's the problem that I see with all this Doge stuff. Right. Because everybody should be celebrating that we've found a way to cut out fraud and waste.
Yeah.
If you pay taxes and you don't like that you have to pay so much in taxes, and then you find out that there's significant fraud and waste that's been exposed, you should be celebrating it. This shouldn't be, oh no, the wrong people found this fact and now it's a bad thing.
Yes.
And then there's the fucking propaganda, the mindfuck of calling it U.S. aid.
Yeah.
Instead of the United States Agency for International Development. It sounds like it's feeding hungry people.
Right.
People are going to starve, Elon. This is horrible. And then you find out, actually, it's like $250 million for transgender animal studies. Like,
yeah, literally mutilating animals.
Yes.
Mutilating animals in demented studies.
Yes.
That are like the worst thing you could possibly imagine from a horror show.
The beagle one. The beagle puppy one?
Horrific.
Yeah, where they covered their head in a basket and put fleas on their heads so they'd eat them alive.
Yeah.
And then they studied these beagles and then killed them. Like, what are you going to learn from that? That's good for anybody.
Yeah. This some psychotic stuff that happens. So, yeah, I mean
Many people say it's
Oh,
impossible
Jesus
to start a
Christ.
fund. They also say it's impossible.
Fuck
for
off,
chickens to
Bridger
fly.
Pennington, you fucking scam artist.
But
I guess the real threat here is to the bureaucracy. So, like you probably saw, like, let's say like Trump as a threat to our democracy, which is ironic since he was elected with the majority of the popular vote. They started saying I was a threat to democracy. But if you just replace threat to democracy with threat to bureaucracy, it makes total sense.
Right.
So,
See, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do the reaction to this video. What's going on, man? What's going on, Steelhead? How you doing, buddy? Thanks for coming in. What's going on, Dex? Thanks for coming in, brother. Thanks for watching. But this was one of the things that I found so fascinating about this episode with Musk on there. Can you imagine, like, I don't know how old, the 5 of you are that are watching right now. But if you just go back to like 2010, the thought that this cult of personality, Elon Musk, would be sitting there talking blatantly about what's going on, man. What's talking blatantly about the corruption that is going on in the government. You know, there's this thing that I notice from a lot of people. I don't know if they're paying attention. Politics just isn't their thing. They don't really have time to think about it, what it is. But there's always this like tendency to give the government more and more power. And after having worked for the government, I can tell you right now, the bureaucrats that are inside of the machine are no more intelligent than you are. These are not the best and brightest. And I don't even know what that really means, because human beings are just human beings. But the fact that all of this stuff was going on and nobody knew about it. Like the government's been doing dirty shit for years, and yeah, sometimes you got to do some dirty shit to maintain an empire. I'm not totally opposed to it. But the fact that you have this guy on a TV show, basically. You have Elon Musk on the Joe Rogan Experience, which is basically just a TV show that a guy who happened to be pretty curious, you know, he's wealthy, he's in a situation where he knows famous people. He decides to just get high on the internet and interview his friends. And that goes on for a few years, and then the whole podcasting scene explodes. And it's not just Rogan, there's other podcasts out there. But you have these guys that are just saying, hey man, this is what's going on in the government. This is what the government is doing with your money. Starting wars, putting beagles into, you know, torturing beagles with experiments where sand fleas eat their heads. I just find this so bizarre and so fascinating. Let's listen to a little bit more. And whatever, if they're going to take it down, they're going to take it down.
I mean, the reality is that our elected officials have very little power relative to the bureaucracy until Doge. So Doge is a threat to the bureaucracy. It's the first threat to the bureaucracy. Normally the bureaucracy eats revolutions for breakfast. This is the first time that they're not. That the revolution might actually succeed. That we could restore power to the people instead of power to the bureaucracy.
Now, the size of it.
Yeah.
When you guys first started investigating it, when you first get in, how much of it was shocking? Like this, just the size of it all.
Well, the size of it all, small decisions result in multi-billion-dollar outcomes. So, you know, we'd see, you know, there's a case where we saw one person was getting $1.9 billion sent to their NGO, which basically got formed about a year ago and had no prior, no prior activity. So they just stand up an NGO. The whole NGO thing is a nightmare. And it's a misnomer, because if you have a government-funded non-governmental organization, you're simply a government-funded organization. It's an oxymoron.
Right. It's a loophole.
Yes. It basically, the government-funded NGOs are a way.
All the government-funded NGOs are money laundering operations. So that's the thing that was made clear by, you know, the whole revelation with USAID, where the money goes to one NGO, then they take a cut. Then it goes to another NGO, they take a cut. Then it goes through however many more, and then 0.1% of the amount of government money that went to this NGO actually arrives at the people it's supposed to be helping. And, you know, good luck uncovering that without AI, for lack of a better term. You know, I know this isn't true AI, what's going on now, but at least you can track the money. And, you know, it is what it is. It's how these bureaucrats, they get so rich in Washington, D.C. While you, the common guy, you know, you've got to work 40 hours a week. They're telling you, yeah, the economy's great. And you're like, bro, I can't find a job. And they're like, nah, but the economy's great. And you're like, it's not great. Nobody's hiring. But yet these unelected bureaucrats, they get to decide what our rights are. Like, that's what they try to do. You have that one insufferable woman, Nina Jankowicz. Like, I feel bad for the dude that decided to impregnate that woman. I can only imagine what a nightmare it is to come home to Nina Jankowicz. Like, walk in the house, throw your keys in the key bowl, come walking in, she's playing show tunes on the piano about censorship. No, this money that's going out to these people is taken from us, the taxpayer, to then turn around and try and, you know, neuter or nerf our rights, saying, oh, you don't have a right to hate speech. Like, bro, I completely disagree. I have a complete right to hate speech if that's what you want to do. That's kind of the thing of freedom of speech.
To do things that would be illegal if they were the government, but are somehow made legal if it's sent to a so-called nonprofit.
Yeah, that's how they skirt the law.
These nonprofits are then used to, people cash out these nonprofits. They become very wealthy through nonprofits. They pay themselves enormous sums through these nonprofits.
It's so insane that that's been going on for so long.
It's a gigantic scam, like one of the biggest, maybe the biggest scam ever.
And how many NGOs?
I think there's a total number of NGOs, probably millions, but in terms of large NGOs, tens of thousands. I mean, it's actually it's kind of a hack to the system where, you know, someone can get an NGO stood up for a fairly small amount of money. Like George Soros was really good at this. Like George Soros is like a system hacker. Like he figured out how to hack the system. He's a genius at arbitrage. I mean, these days he's pretty old, but a genius at arbitrage. So he figured out that you could leverage a small amount of money to create a nonprofit, then lobby the politicians to send a ton of money to that nonprofit, so you can take what might be, you know, a $10 million donation to a nonprofit to create a nonprofit and leverage that into $1 billion NGO. A nonprofit is a weird word. It's just a non-governmental organization.
Dude, I have wondered. What's going on, AJ? What's going on, brother? I have wondered for years, because I try to look at, like, George Soros' stock holdings, and, like, it never made sense to me how he was that wealthy. But, you know, it is what it is. It's another thing that was laid out in here. George Soros is a civilization destroyer. That's what he is. Like, he's obsessed with the Open Society Foundation, where he wants, you know, a borderless world, you know, that he can just lord over from his Manhattan penthouse apartment. And, yeah, it's like, you know, the left will go, well, you know, right-wing people always talking about George Soros. And I'm like, bro, are you not aware George Soros is one of the most evil individuals that has ever walked the face of this planet? Like, he is literally a civilization destroyer. And, like, this, oh, he's not, you know, Trump is a way bigger threat to us. No, he's not. Trump doesn't fund open borders, you know, nonprofits, and I hate the word nonprofit. It's an NGO. But, yeah, this is just fascinating.
And then the government continues to fund that every year. And it'll have a nice sounding name, like the Institute for Peace or something like that. But really, it's a graft machine.
And what are the
And-
requirements with that money? What do they have
It's
to
often
do?
just really no requirements at all.
So they just get grants and the government just assumes that they're doing good work.
I think a lot of people in the government know that they're not doing good work, but it's a giant graft machine. I mean,
But surely
people online are like unpacking this,
Right.
Um,
It almost seems fake. Like when you see how we were
Yeah.
we were covering this article that said 55,000 Democrat NGOs were discovered that had been contributing to campaigns and moving things
Yeah.
around and pushing propaganda, and they were all connected. And they found it through AI. That you have to
Yeah.
go through steps and steps and steps to figure out where the money's coming from. Oh, it's all funneling down to this
yes,
group, and this
exactly.
group does that. And yeah, it's a giant propaganda machine, a giant regime change machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean,
But does it do some good as well?
It does sound good. So it's like it's not like 0% good. If it was, if it was like, if it was really 0% good, it'd be much easier to attack. So there's going to be some percent good that they add in there, but it's like it might be 5% or 10% good, but 95% not.
So is there a way?
And the other thing that's bizarre about this, to me, at least, just sitting on the outside, is legacy media wonders why it's dying. But here's the thing. You have a comedian, cage fighting commentator, and a businessman basically breaking down how corrupt the system is currently. And yet, you turn on, doesn't matter whether it's Fox News, although I'll probably get laughed at if there's any liberal I shouldn't say liberal, any progressive woke ideologues listening. But Fox News is generally more accurate than CNN or MSNBC. I watch Fox News occasionally. I'm like, it's news entertainment. I take it with a grain of salt. But at least occasionally on Fox News, they'll at least dip their toe in the waters of truth. Not CNN. It's defend the bureaucracies at all cost. And it's like, well, dude, here's the thing. It's like the bureaucracies do some good. Like he said in there, it's not 0%. You know, you have this massive economy, okay? You're going to have bureaucracy to manage it at some level, right? It's just the unfortunate reality of the world that you do need some level of government. But, you know, and the same token, the bureaucracies shouldn't be taking yours and my tax money and then using that money to strip away our rights. This is like, dude, here's all that's going to happen. Empower the bureaucracies all you want. Give them ultimate power. All they're going to do is kill the golden goose. And that is business that pays for the government. That's all that's going to happen. Is the society will get poorer. The government will lose its strength over time. Really, the European countries couldn't maintain their bureaucracies without being subsidized by America. If they had to pay for their own defense, I mean, look at it now. Keir Starmer, you know, why anybody, like you could just look at Keir Starmer's face. Is that a face that, like, if you have any level of testosterone flowing through your body and you look at Keir Starmer's face, is that a face that you want to take orders from? Really? This guy? Keir Starmer. That's the dude that, you know, it's like, if I'm going, you know, I have a problem. This is the face of my country. It's like, I could just look at his face. It's just full of smug elitism. Just looking at it. You go, yeah, dude, I don't know who that guy is, but he's like definitely got a smug, elitist, feminine face, and I'm not going to take orders from him.
to audit all this stuff and find out, oh, these people are actually just sending food to poor people. These people are actually just helping people with water in third world countries. There's a way to do that and keep funding those.
Yeah, I mean, we have continued to fund things that appear to be legitimate, even with the flimsiest, if there's even the flimsiest excuse. Like, I just say, like, send me a picture of the thing. Like, you could literally have AI generate the picture. But if you're not even willing to try to trick me, then we're, like, not going to send the money, okay?
So what restrictions were put on? There was something set aside, like medicine, and there's what was set aside that there wasn't
there was
gonna be a freeze on?
work for like Ebola prevention. I actually don't even know if this work is even effective. It may or may not be. Like, it could be the kind of thing where you sort of fund Ebola prevention, but it turns out that actually you're funding a lab that develops new Ebola virus, recipes or something,
Yeah.
and they
One of the problems I've noticed about whenever this tax money goes out, right? Your tax money, my tax money, you guys work hard. But one of the things I've noticed is anytime there's like any criticism of a government program not working, you see this with the war on drugs, which I have very libertarian views towards drugs and drug use. I have no idea why conservatives who espouse, hey, we're all about smaller government, then will turn around and go, yeah, but we should have the cops lock you in a cage and put you in a cell with, Bubba the Booty Bandit, all because you were growing and smoking a plant in your house. And you want to look at the person and go, all right, let me ask a question. Was this dude like doing anything? Like, no. Like, he wasn't like selling it to kids. No. What was he doing? I just like to get high after work. Oh, well, you know what we need to do then is we need to have this guy get fired from his job, make sure that he gets no meaningful employment in the future, and, all over a plant. It's like, but the war on drugs, every time I get into an argument with somebody, how I go, it's been going for nearly 100 years, and in some cases with like cocaine and, say, opiates, it's been going on for over 100 years. The first laws against drugs were cocaine laws in the early 20th century, okay? Now, every time you go, yeah, I just don't think the drug war has been effective. I think it's a giant, colossal waste of money, trillions of dollars in spending, and people are still doing drugs. I get it, Alan. I'll address that. Yeah, no, I get it. But what I'm saying is, it's an ineffective program. It hasn't prevented anybody from doing drugs. And what I was going to say about it is, you get this argument. I just use this as an example, the drug war as an example. It's like, well, imagine what the addiction rates would be if we didn't have the war on drugs. Like, okay, well, how do you know it wouldn't be lower? It's with everything. Oh, well, if you defund this program, all these kids in Africa are going to starve. Well, it's like, how do you know that? Okay? And why are they in a position where they're depending on food from another country? What's going on in that country? Did a stronger imperial power go in there and fuck up that country? Like, how do you know if you end X program, this will happen? Yeah, if you could go out, thoughts on the U.S. going after the Mexican cartels? Well, I don't know, man. The cartels engage in human trafficking. Again, I'm not going to get my way, which would be to mostly end the war on drugs. What I would do is, the vast majority of the war on drugs used to be for weed. Okay, I would legalize weed blanketly across the board. I would take psychedelic drugs off. We'll figure out what we're going to do with them. Because it's unpopular, people still want you to go after cocaine and heroin. But let me point this out. Let me point this out about drugs. If I make a joke, okay, and I say to you, you go, hey, Jay, I come into work Monday morning. I look a little bit haggard. I come into work and you go, yo, rough weekend? I'm like, bro, you don't even know the half of it. Steve and I were drinking at this bar and he breaks out some yayo, right? I haven't done yay in years, so I decided to do a line. Okay, and then it just explodes from there. And we end up, up the road at the casino with 4 hookers in the room doing cocaine all weekend. You, or most normal people, would laugh hysterically at me saying that. And here's what I'm going to say. If you think it's funny that I did a certain crime, it shouldn't be a crime. Like the vast majority of people would either go, yeah, dude, that's not good for you, or they would laugh that you went and got coke and hookers. So it's like I look at it and then I look at it and I go, okay, well, maybe this shouldn't be a crime. But again, not very many people are going to agree with me when I go, yeah, I think coke should be legal too. They're going to, oh, all these people are going to be addicted. And I'm like, dude, booze, as much as I love booze, even though I don't drink anymore, booze is a terrible drug. Booze is awful for you. But we deal with it like adults. Dude develops an addiction to alcohol, which the physical addiction to alcohol is actually worse than the physical addiction to opiates. So, again, I just look at it and I go, okay, this hasn't worked. But it's government. No matter, it's the Thomas Sowell saying, there's nothing quite so permanent as a temporary government program. And that's where you end up with the government. It's like, hey, this program isn't working. Oh, well, people have jobs and they depend on this government program. And you're like, yeah, but I don't want to pay for it because it's not working. It's like, well, dude, like, imagine how bad it would be if the program wasn't there. It may not have gotten the best results. It's like the war on poverty. Has the war on poverty done anything other than make people poorer? I don't know, man. But I'm glad at least Elon Musk is out there, at least putting... He's on Rogan. He's at least putting out the level of corruption and fraud from these bureaucrats. It's like how anybody supports Hillary Clinton. I have no idea. It's like this is a product of the system. The most psychopathic and evil people rise to the top. Have you seen No, dude. No, dude, that's not surprising to me, though. Think about who programs these things. Of course it was going to come up like that. Like, I think that was going to be built into the system. Had Harris won, I think what was going to happen is, and, Mark Andreessen lends some credence to this. He said basically he got called into a meeting amongst, Silicon Valley types, and they said, hey, we want these large major companies to basically own the space in artificial intelligence. So we're not going to release any money to startups. Don't even bother funding it. But I think that was part of the plan. I think part of the plan, and Trump ruined it, was the AI information was going to be all left-wing information. Where if I'm sitting there arguing with the guy from Adam Ruins Everything about children and taking, cross-sex hormones, this was going to be the response from Adam Ruins Everything guy. Like, how that guy's a fucking comedian and who pays to go to his show, I have no idea. But it was going to be like, Siri, is there any scientific research that points to negatives from children taking cross-sex hormones. There is no studies showing that there is a possible danger from children taking cross-sex hormones. You see, you stupid caveman, we need to give kids gender-affirming care, and it's not at all going to screw up their bodies for the rest of their lives. It's like, dude, that's what I think was coming with the AI. But, now that Trump's in there, it's at least screwing it up for enough time. I hope J.D. Vance wins the next election. So it totally screws up their globalist, elitist plan to basically make every sovereign country in the world go away and be under control of a global governance by the UN and Davos and those guys. But, yeah, there's the bad people didn't realize that they were using a 20th century model in the 21st century. That's what's going on now. Things are shaking out and going in a weird way because nobody really knows what's going to go on. Okay? Nobody knows what the entertainment or the news industry is going to be in the future because of the disruption from the first disruption was the internet. The second disruption, well, it was still the internet, but it was caused by social media. And that's where you saw the backlash. Trump got elected, Brexit happened, and all these elites that had been sitting around since the beginning of time with their bureaucracies trying to shape the outcomes that they want. It doesn't matter whether it's under communism or Fabian socialism or even, basically most of the people that work in these bureaucracies are Fabian socialists. They want to vote in socialism. But there's always this idea that comes forth from large groups of people, central planners that are running things, that they're somehow going to change the nature of mankind. And, it is what it is. Human beings respond to incentives. It's under Stalin in the Soviet Union, he was going to eliminate greed, and we were all going to live in this communist utopia. Nobody would want more than they could have, and you're going to have one guy up at the top making all the decisions who owns everything. I think it's called a king. But yeah, I think that was part of the greater plan. Hate speech laws that they were trying to enforce in Europe and trying to force on American companies. They control the narrative because they saw that they had lost control of the narrative, and Hillary Clinton even said it. Hillary Clinton said, if you don't get control of the internet, you will lose total control, which insinuates that they had total control in the first place. And they did until the internet came along. And now we're in the new shakeup, and that is AI. Now, I personally don't get into the hype that everybody else has about AI. I'm like, it's going to change the world, but we don't know how yet. That's why buying NVIDIA at 60 times operating cash flow is just effing stupid. But, I think that was by design. I haven't really played with them. Sign, the AI is womp womp for the most part. Yeah, I mean, we do this as people. We extract linearly. So, we just assume things are going to happen in a certain way based upon our prejudices from just being humans. We go, oh, I've seen this before, so it's going to play out like this. And part of the thing I was trying to warn people about, and probably didn't do the best job, is beware of the hype. Because if I take 10Ks from 2000 and I take 10Ks from 2024 and I put them side by side, they read virtually identical. And it's again, the internet changed the world. It just didn't change the world in the ways everybody thought it would. The AI is going to be the same thing. We don't know what it's going to do. Personally, I think AI is going to be one of the greatest tools we've ever had for medicine, things of that nature, rooting out fraud if it's done properly. But then again, it all comes down to who's programming the AI. Because a lot of people out in Silicon Valley tend to be leftoids. And they'll put that bias into the program. It's essentially task-based learning, only knows what it's fed. I've explained that to multiple people at work where I tell them, I go, what you're thinking of is artificial general intelligence, and that's not where we are. I don't know that we'll ever get to artificial general intelligence, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. I probably am, but I just don't really see it. But yeah, it's basically what I call it right now is a language compiler. It trolls the internet and it's why the little AI that I get on Google, I type something in, it's like, oh, AI response, Wikipedia. I'm like, yeah, thanks. I didn't need you to do that. I could have done that on my own. Yeah, it's fascinating, but it's not what everybody, it's fed non-commie morons, nothing really intelligent about it. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I did that rant a minute ago, so I'm not really going to comment much more on that one. But yeah, it was programmed that way by the people out in Silicon Valley. Did you hear the British is going to put troops on the ground and planes in the air? Announced today it's time to get out of NATO. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Like, the whole thing is what are we doing here? I mean, this was my opposition to the war in the first place. Everybody in the media is trying to make the war out to be something that it's not. It's a proxy war. Russia, and how bad it is 2 weeks ago when I did my live stream, a week and a half ago. I was talking about Bill Burr, and I went on this rant because I didn't really have any comments. And I was talking about the Azov battalion and how they were shelling people in the Donbass and how the Russians in the Donbass voted to go over to the Russian Federation. Okay? And these people were like, what's this guy talking about? That's what your average person knows about Ukraine. This is the average person that puts the flag up on Facebook, right? All they know is what they're told by CNN. They don't know anything about the Azov battalion. They don't know about the minerals in the Donbass. They just, Putin bad. And yeah, Putin is bad. But the people of the Ukraine are being used as cannon fodder for a proxy war. And then they get mad when Zelensky cops a fucking attitude in the White House and Trump takes him to task. I don't know how I feel about it, but it is what it is, man. Zelensky was sitting there acting like a petulant child. And, Trump, it's like, we've been funding you the whole time. And I agree. If NATO wants this war, Europe can fight it. Okay? The when they're doing this stupid shit, and it is stupid shit, I just look at people when they make all their arguments. Now, Russia's got to give back all of the land that it took. I just want to go, you do realize Vladimir Putin has nukes, right? I think Russia has more nukes than the United States. Not that it matters in the numbers we're talking about. All it really means is killing the entire globe hundreds of times over. But you sit there and you go, all of your arguments contradict each other. Putin he's a dictator and he's got weapons of mass destruction. Okay. What do you want to do about that? Well, he needs to be taken out. Okay, how? Well, we could destroy the Russian military in the Ukraine and then invade. Okay, that would trigger World War III and a nuclear holocaust. Well, Putin wouldn't use the nukes. You just got done telling me Putin is the most evil man ever and that he's a dictator. And then you said he's got weapons of mass destruction. That's why we got to take him out. Well, the Ukraine was a sovereign country. Okay. All right. So what do you want to do about it? Yeah. Vladimir, I don't know what the right answer is either because I wasn't in the Donbass. Just telling you from my outside look. What do I think should have been done? Well, I don't think we should have couped the government in 2014. I don't think we should have allowed our ally to shell his own people in the Donbass. And I don't think we should have been trying to include them in NATO. That's what I think. It's like, dude, you don't always get the outcomes you want. Well, we want Ukraine in NATO. Tough luck. The dude sitting on a stockpile, armed to the teeth, 6,000 nuclear warheads, just told you you're not doing it. So on a certain level, you got to go, yeah, Putin's 70 years old. He's almost out of here. I don't think that dude really cares if he launches a bunch of nukes if World War III were to happen. Yeah, dude, fuck Keir Starmer. If Keir Starmer wants a war in the Ukraine, why doesn't that smug bitch put on a pair of military fatigues, throw on some boots, grab an MRE and a rifle, and he can go over there and he can join the meat grinder. It's it. Like none of these fucking smug NATO European elites have ever been in so much as a fist fight. Yet they want to wax philosophically about freedoms they don't believe in, and how we need to set the example for the world. And it's like, dude, you have no skin in the game. Germany, your economy is destroyed from the decisions these dipshit elites made. Vladimir Putin blew up Nord Stream. Yeah, because that makes sense. So it's amazing. It really is. Cash out appellant Dex. Smart. I'm thinking about going to 100% T-bills in my TSP. It's not my entire portfolio, but I'm planning on doing that because I think the narrative is shifted. And, for a while when everything was going back up, it was bad news is good news. And now it looks like they're shifting to bad news is bad news. And I guarantee you the news media complex, the news industry, they're going to try and cause a stock market crash to screw over Trump. That's what I think. I think they're going to start talking, are we headed for a recession? Wait, 4 months ago, you told me we were in the greatest economy ever. Now you're telling me there's going to be a recession? And that's what the news is playing out to be. Like, I think you should take as much profit from the high flyers as possible. So, dude, I hope you 10x your money and fucking, I don't know, man. Throw that in some T-bills and wait and see what happens.
They claim it's Ebola prevention, but it's actually Ebola creation. So some of these things, I don't know. I mean, just, but it just seems like we shouldn't be sending taxpayer money to dubious enterprises overseas.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why are we doing it? Like, what exactly is the reason? Is it because we want to make friends with these people so the Chinese don't take over, the Russians don't take over? Okay, how much of that is like a good thing? How much of that is smart to do? And how much is a grift? And without any sort of oversight, which
Yeah.
has really been going on for so long, they just had free run.
Yeah. Well, also we just have a real issue with the budget deficit. It's gigantic. So, like if you know, all things being equal, if we didn't have a gigantic budget deficit where interest payments, the interest on the national debt exceeds the Defense Department budget, which is truly astounding. Which means so we're paying over $1 trillion of interest on the national debt. Then okay, we'd have more room for wasting money, basically. But when we're spending so much money that the country's going bankrupt, then we really need to stop spending money unless we're sure it is good value.
So essentially, we're like a poorly managed business with an unlimited credit line
Yes.
that is off the rails.
Great content needs
Ah.
a great audience. Like Stretch Armstrong needs to be stretched. Yeah!
All right.
Absolutely.
Obnoxious
And
shit.
if you were a person like you are who comes in and takes over businesses and straightens them out, that's exactly what you're doing.
I mean, most of the time I create businesses from scratch. Like
Right.
Twitter was a case where I kind of bought a company that was I kind of knew it was a hairball.
Well, you came in at Tesla in the beginning, but they were already doing something, right?
No, Tesla did not exist in any meaningful form. There were no employees. J.B. Straubel joined 3 other people. There was no car. There was no nothing.
So it
was the
wasn't
beginning.
even a prototype yet?
No,
Oh, okay. I thought it was a prototype already.
no. There weren't even any employees.
Oh. Wasn't it a fun? That's a funny narrative that people like to say that you didn't even create Tesla then.
Yeah, that's wrong.
So if you're handling the government like a business, you're going to have to go through all of these departments and do the exact same thing that you're doing with USAID. So how does that scale up? Like, how many people do you need to do something like that?
Well, we started off with about 40 people, maybe 100 people, and we're really just going through doing very basic things here. It's as bad as Twitter was, the federal government is much worse. So, in the case of Twitter, it wasn't a profitable company. It was like basically a break-even company, but at least it was break-even, and it had to pass an audit. The federal government is not break-even, literally losing $2 trillion a year, and it does not pass its audits. It fails its own audits. So, there's a case where, I think Senator Collins was telling me about how she gave the Navy $12 billion for more submarines, got no extra submarines, and then held a hearing to say where'd the $12 billion go, and they were like, we don't know. That was it. Basically, stuff is so crazy. It's only the federal government could get away with this level of waste. It's mostly waste. It's mostly not fraud. It's mostly waste. It's mostly just ridiculous.
Oh, this brings up a legitimate point. What is it? The F-35 Raptor? Dude, how much money have we spent on the F-35 Raptor? Supposedly, this is it's the most advanced plane that's ever, it is the most advanced plane ever created by humans, obviously. But this this program costs something like $2 or $3 trillion, and the jets barely work. The only time you see the F-35 Raptor is in some movie like I don't know, The Incredible Hulk, where it's firing missiles at the Hulk. That's the only time you ever see, or it's fighting some alien, or it's in Top Gun 2. But you never actually really see this jet. And this is one of those Defense Department programs where you have to ask the question. It's like, if we're spending all this money, how come we don't get equipment that works? And, again, it is what it is, man. the federal government is full of waste. You know, and it's amazing that it took a, you know, business owner to get in with Donald Trump, even though, again, I say it all the time, Elon Musk has his grifts. But no, most human beings are not all good or all bad. You know, I'm sure Hillary Clinton, you know, has occasionally like pet a puppy or a kitten. She probably broke its neck afterwards, but I'm sure she's done occasional good in the world. And I don't know, man. It like I just thought this was amazing that this dude is just sitting here saying that on Rogan. So like we can move on and talk about the strategic crypto reserve after I do these comments, but yeah, man, it was just I don't know, that was just mind-blowing to me. I wish I could be more articulate about it, that it's just on a random comedian's podcast where this dude is breaking down the dysfunction in the government like no news agency is doing. And that just goes to show you, it's all fake. Hollywood is fake. The news is fake. You know, and they wonder why nobody watches movies anymore. We'll get to the Oscars. Yeah, Warren Buffett, he went to like, this is his largest cash position as a percentage of his portfolio ever. I'm not going to read too much into that. You know, I mean, Warren does what Warren does, but I think he's seeing something. And again, you know, it's Warren Buffett. He's talking to people. Really? I'll have to look at that, man. I broke down and finally got YouTube. I couldn't stand the ads. And oh, dude, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just that cheap. But the ads on YouTube are just so bad. Like, they're just awful and annoying. Female just crashed the F-36. Buff Dog also doesn't want to screw up his legacy. He acknowledged in his annual letter that his days are limited, hence play it safe. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. But I'm going on my own hunch that, you know, the Biden administration, they overspent. That money goes into the economy. Most of us that are, you know, regular dudes, we go to the store and we see the effects on our wallet, right? And we've been seeing that for years now. And, you know, I just think the media, they hate Trump. I think we're going to start seeing is a recession around the corner. And there's also the Fed saying there was a contraction. So I don't know, man. And it's also the price that the S&P 500 is trading at right now. We're still at book value of S&P 500. I should have put price to book. You see what we're trading at right now. We're at 4.91. Okay. Is at the current level of 4.941. Okay, you're still around the overvaluation of the tech bubble. Also, the Buffett indicator is still at 200%, so, or high 190s. So that's why, I mean, I don't think there's going to be like this massive crash. What I think is going to happen is it's just going to be a slow downward slide. But who knows? So I just want to see what happens. Some gold. Too late or just silly. Now, I don't think gold is the worst thing to buy. I just think I think this is an everything bubble. And I don't know. I think gold is going to come down later on. I could be wrong, though. So I don't want to tell you not to buy gold. You know what I mean? But I actually, if there is a crash and gold comes on sale, I actually am thinking about a couple times a year buying a couple of Krugerrands or whatever, just throwing them in a safe. Just something I don't really think about. It's there. Plus, gold is great if you pass away to pass on to your friends and family because the government doesn't know about it and they can't tax it. And anytime you're doing something like that, you're doing something that's good. Kilmer has been getting margin called every week this year. Yeah, dude. I mean, Jesus Christ. He's paying $24,000? Jesus Christ. Yeah, that dude, leverage, like, I don't understand why people listen to certain people. It is what it is, man. I'm not going to fret about it, but you don't take out leverage. This is the tendency that somebody that doesn't know what they're doing is going to do. They take out leverage in these overextended bull markets. It's related to FOMO, you know. They take on that leverage, and it's honestly, it's the easy way to go bankrupt. And, you know, if you're going to take on leverage, take it on in a bear market when you think you're near the bottom, somewhere around 2 times book value. You know, that's when you take on leverage. You don't take on leverage in a bull market that's been running for 5 years at this point. It was like it started in March of 2020 where everything got ridiculous. So, you know, it is what it is, dude. So, do this. How long have we been going? How long is this stream? It's over an hour. All right. Cool. I'll do a little bit more. Was I? Yeah, that's where it was. Okay. Yeah. Trump announces strategic crypto reserve, including Bitcoin, Solana, XRP, and more. I cannot tell you or explain to you in actual words how much disdain I have for this going on. So, you're going to take, let me get this straight. You're going to take Americans' tax money, their hard-earned money. You're going to take it and you're going to buy something with, I don't want to say no value, but I will. No value. I can't figure out how much it's worth. And you're going to use my tax money for this. A U.S. crypto reserve will elevate this critical industry after years of corrupt attacks by the Biden administration. Well, yeah, the Biden administration was corrupt, but I don't know what that has to do with Bitcoin and shit like that, which is why my executive order on digital assets directed by Presidential Working Group to move forward on a crypto strategic reserve that, okay, this is going to end badly, right? And here's who's going to be the bag holder. The average American. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if I wanted to buy crypto, if I thought crypto was appropriate for my portfolio, I would buy crypto, but I don't. Here, let me just go through the numerous reasons why I wouldn't buy crypto. Well, I don't know if it even exists. It exists as ones and zeros. Yeah, but Jay, money exists like that. No, I can go to the bank and withdraw cash. And then I can go buy gold that the government doesn't know that I own and then throw it in a fireproof safe, never worry about it, and pass it on. Okay. How do I figure out how much Bitcoin is worth? This is a question nobody can answer for me. Bitcoin, how much are you selling for right now? 93,000 a Bitcoin. Okay, let me dive into this. Simple question. You see this later on. Explain to me what its value is. Okay. Bitcoin was at, I don't know, $110 a Bitcoin, whatever, a few months ago or a month ago. Okay. It was trading at 110. Now it's trading at 93,000. How much is it worth? Is it worth 93,000 or is it worth 110,000? How do I know whether I'm getting a deal? Because here, all right, yeah, but Jay, how do you, yeah, but I mean, what's a stock worth? Oh, I don't know. Here's what I can do. I can come over here to stock analysis and I can do something real fast and tell you whether it's massively overvalued. We'll go to the ratios in a second, but your assets. Assets equal shareholder equity plus liabilities. Palantir has $6 billion in assets. And I'd actually need to look at the 10K because I think there's a lot of funky stuff going on with Palantir. I don't own it, so I'm not going to do it. But, okay. So you have $6 billion in assets. Shareholder equity plus liabilities equals everything within the company. There is nothing more. I just bought the whole company. If I bought its shareholder equity plus liabilities, I now own everything. Okay? I don't want to buy the liabilities, but I have to. Okay. Let's come over here. Oh, it says a market cap of $200 billion. So you want me, Mr. Market, to pay you $200 billion for $6 billion in assets. Okay. Well, let's go over here. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's go over here. Oh, your book value, it's at 39, right? Depending on growth, but generally you don't really want to pay more than 4 or 5. Price to sales, don't really want to go over 3. You're at 66. Okay. Price to free cash flow, 174. Price to operating cash flow, 172. I don't use the PEG ratio that often. I do look at it. But yeah, generally it's best to buy when it's under 1. You're at 6. All right, I'd say that's overvalued. Now let's go over to Bitcoin. Okay, how do I know whether this is overvalued? I'm honestly asking. I've been on the internet for a while, and what people do is they tell me I'm stupid and I don't understand Bitcoin. And then I go, yeah, you're right. I don't understand Bitcoin. Could you explain it to me? And they're like, well, it's a digital asset. It's not a digital asset. It's a form of currency. It's not currency. Why would you keep telling me it's going to be an ever appreciating asset? But yet, then why would I use that as currency? I want my cash to be less valuable. Therefore, you'll increase the velocity of money. Okay? Because if the cash is going to be less valuable in the future, for the most part, I want to spend it now because I'm getting more. Why would Bitcoin's going to be worth 200,000. Okay, why would I spend it? Well, because it's currency. Why would I spend an ever appreciating asset? It just doesn't make sense to me. And now they're going to take our tax money and they're going to buy this dumb shit. Yeah. Oh, it rose 10% because of the announcement. It was down at 80,000. That's why it rose. Yeah, and it's all that's gonna happen with this. All that's gonna happen with this is it's gonna make Trump look bad, and JD Vance. It's all that's gonna happen. I don't know, man. Maybe you guys know. I don't. was weird seeing Trump at a crypto event. It's like, yeah, no, it is, man. I guess he's paying back the people that supported him, but I shouldn't have to have my money taken from me to buy this, whatever you want to call it, this cryptocurrency, whatever it is. You and I, if we don't want to participate, shouldn't have to, but yet we're being forced into it. It's extremely frustrating. Better ratios for new age investing are price to believe, price to hope, price to dream, price to pray, and price to delusion. I love it. Start using that when I'm like, oh, dude, why'd you buy Palantir? Well, my price to pray ratio, so, I'm praying that it's going to keep going up. Dude, I got a guy at work. I was trying to convince him when Palantir was at, what was it? Let me look. I think it was like a month ago. Let's do 1 month. Okay. Yeah, this was like 2 weeks ago when it was about $120 a share. I was talking to a dude at work and I was explaining everything that I just went through really quick with Palantir. And I'm like, bro, you should sell it. This dude has basically his entire portfolio in Palantir stock. And I'm like, dude, and I even said to him, I go, when we were talking, he goes, yeah, man, I mean, I felt awful when, I was buying it and it went down to like whatever it went down to. Some fucking lows it went down to. Down in 2022. Yeah, when it was down to like $7. This guy was like, told me he was losing his shit when that happened. And I looked at him and I go, how'd you feel when that was happening? He goes, oh, I felt awful. Like the stock tanked. I go, how are you going to feel if it drops from like, I don't know, 110 down to like $6? And he was like, well, I would feel awful. And I go, that's what's going to happen to you if you hold on to it. And he's already flipping out that the price is down in the percent, that it's down into the 80s from, the 110, 115. And I told him, I go, I don't know what it's going to do in the future. It could shoot up to $200 a share on good news. But, the reality is you're not holding a stock that is as valuable as you think it is. So, all right, guys, got through the comments. I'm going to probably call it here. I was going to do a rant on the Oscars, but I'll save it for next week. I'm a little bit tired. But, yeah, this is going to be the new format going forward for a little while. Sorry, if you tuned in, you're watching it later and you don't like it, you want to see my handsome visage and not the skeptical hippo, but I have to do the things this way for I don't know how long. Maybe a year, whatever. I got people snooping around me. So this is what it's going to be, and I just want to say thanks to everybody who tuned in. Whether you stayed for a minute or the whole time, appreciate your time. Try to just have fun here. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you have a great week, and I should be back next Sunday. So have a great week, guys, and much love out to you.